Hello, Drunkduckers. This is Ozone Ocean. With me is Bates and Tudstreet, and we're on the Quackcast, together the Drunkduck Quackcast, and it's Quackcast number 780. Hello.
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 Today we're going to be talking about colouring, how you build colour, how you build background colours and things like that. That's what we're going to be chatting about. Baines, Tance and I are all going to be lending our bit of information about how we do that and, you know, the different methods and how we prefer to do it, which is our main kind of thing. But before we get into that, we have to introduce the featured comic. Quackcast gave us Nemushan's Heart. Nemushan's Heart. So, Quai, tell us about Nemushan's Heart.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Nemushan's Heart by Yeonwoo Yi, and it is rated T for teen. There is one rule: never court the living god's chosen bride. This rule did not apply to Nemushan, the son of the underworld, the son of fire, who fell in love with the spirit of nature, the living god's chosen bride. The spirit of nature was burnt alive, and the son of the underworld was turned into a deadly gem that appears every 100 years. When the living god discovered the truth, his heart broke, and he locked himself away from the world. There are rumors he is still around, searching for his bride. The color varies between light pastels to muted shades, depending on the character, experimental and stylistic. Look for the deadly gem in the last location the Son of Fire was seen, and read Nemushan's Heart by Yeonwoo Yi, rated T.
Thanks for talking about Nemushan's Heart, Quai. That was very, very enlightening. Okay, so now another best of Gummallows for this week, and for this week I've chosen Miss Sisyphus. This is a slow, monochrome ennui. Colour bleeds in gradually like a stain on paper, filling with life, danger, adventure, futuristic exploration, like a dull and dusty bud blossoming into a gorgeous flower full of colour and heady scent. So take it away, Gummallows, with Miss Sisyphus. And that was Gummallows' Best Of, which is always good to have a bit of music by Gummallows. Okay, so now on to the full Quackcast, and on the subject of building colours and how we go about it. How? Start off with, a Pinky TA. It was my topic, and I'll sort of go for it. Well, so in the latest page of Pinky TA, as I just outlined in our visual Patreon video, I was talking about how I built up the colours for, say, the top panel of the latest page of Pinky TA, which is page number, Pinky TA 9, page 6. And so for that panel, I started off with the gradient. So, okay, one of the important things to do with Pinky TA is it's a rather painterly comic with mainly a more realistic style. So that means for a more realistic style comic, I found it's always better to colour the backgrounds before you colour the characters, because the background colours should influence what the characters look like, and it should also make the characters look like they're part of the scene, rather than if you're colouring the characters separately, or if you're colouring them first, which would make them not really part of the scene. And I'm not saying you should always do this, I'm just saying it works better for a more realistic style work. Say for Bottomless Waitress, the characters are coloured completely separately from the background because they always have their same standard colour setting, like a traditional comic strip comic. So it doesn't matter what I colour the background, the characters just are the characters, and I sometimes colour them influenced by the background, if it's a special page, but most of the time they have their standard colouring that they're always done. But so for Pinky Tio, I colour the backgrounds first because I know that's going to influence how the characters are going to be and make it easier to colour the characters as well. So I start off with a gradient, which is a very easy way to fill in a lot of space and give you a vibe for the colour. So it goes from dark to light, which, is really good for gradients, or, maybe 3 colours in a gradient. Not much more than that in a background, because you don't want to have too many gradient colours or else it'll be confusing and sort of irrelevant. So you want a middle, a top and a bottom sort of colour to a gradient, or just a top and a bottom, depending on, if you have 2 or 3 colours. So I had 3 colours in this one. And so, I just did it in blue because I thought, blue suits the scene. It suits the kind of feel for the characters, because in that point in the story, it's a more kind of a slower kind of thing. They're like, it's a wind down after a photo shoot, so there's nothing like active happening. And plus, it's a darker scene, and blue is a very good color for like representing darkness without doing black. You just use blue. So you can represent darkness, but still have everything perfectly visible, which when you're using black, things tend to kind of be harder to see, especially when you're doing black outlines, for your characters. Yeah. Everything will just disappear. So blue is a fantastic trick. I mean, that was something they developed way back in the early days of color film. They decided, okay, so instead of doing night scenes, which we can't really do because our lights aren't as powerful enough to really show up details for our cameras, so what we'll do is we'll shoot during the day, but we'll put a blue filter over everything in order to make it look like it's night. So it's a very, very easy kind of thing to do. So anyway, Pinky Tio, this page is in blue, and I've decided, okay, so all right, it's in blue. Where's the light coming from? Which is the next important thing. So background color is important. Where the light is coming from is super important, because all color and all visibility, everything we see is driven by light. Because without light, there's nothing. There's no color. It's just like your eyes are pointless, basically. So the light in the scene, I've judged that as coming mainly from in front of the characters on these mirrors. So these mirrors are like, beauty mirrors with heaps and heaps of light all over them. And so that's in front of the characters, which means all light is coming from this desk on these mirrors, which means below the desk there's not much light. So any light there is reflected, so it's going to be kind of like muted. So I put shadows underneath the desk in order to indicate that. Above the desk, things are lit, and the characters have more light on them coming from the top, above that desk. And because the characters are in front of those lights and more closer to the viewer, that means the lighting is on the other side of them. That means I could do like a clever silhouette effect. So their backs are quite dark and bluish, but their front parts are lit up around the edges. So you can just see the edges of them highlighted. And that's the but I'm not colouring the figures yet. I'm sort of colouring the background stuff. So I've coloured all the background objects considering that. So any light comes from those lights on the mirrors. And I've done some influence of like the objects, how the object should be coloured. Like say there's a huge flame rifle. I've coloured like the wooden stock part blue. I'm sorry, not blue, brown. and the trousers hanging over the back of the chair. I've done them in grey and stuff, but I've used blue as the blue background color as also influencing that color. I've mixed it through, as in to show, the dominant color of the room and the light is in this blue, so I'll use that in the shadows and in these objects. And there's boots on a chair as well, and which are leather, so leather's reflective, and also these boots are black, so I've done a lot of blue in those as well. So yeah, that's just to show the influence of that kind of color, and it makes it again fit in more to the scene. And I'll say again about that big flame gun, it's mainly metal, which means it's reflective, so I've given it a metal kind of gradient, kind of a very light strip, very dark, and with metal you sort of do these kind of light and dark kind of alternating lines of reflection on it. So yeah, that knowing those things, like knowing the main color of the room and knowing where the lighting's coming from, means it's way easier to color stuff, because everything sort of makes sense. Your brain just becomes a computer automatically kind of filling in these details, how they're meant to go. So if you're not having those kind of things influencing you when you're drawing stuff, then you're a bit more of a loss, and your brain has to say, oh yeah, well maybe that thing should be green, and maybe that thing should be blue, and maybe that thing, and you can get a bit of a mess. Things can be too complicated and too busy and not really fit in together well in a panel. Because what you have to remember, even when you're doing something more realistic, you have to remember that you're not creating reality. What you're creating is an image for people to look at. And you've got to sort of keep in mind, okay, what's going to make this image look good? What's going to make it look graphically kind of unified? So you have these realistic kind of ideas about, okay, what the main color of a thing, where the light's coming from, in order to sort of tell you how things are going to work. But you've also have to have another part of your brain saying, okay, so does this look good? Does this fit in as one total image? Is it too busy? Are there things I need to take out or simplify? So yeah, there you go. So that's a good kind of primer, or as some people say, primer, about how to how to do a sort of a semi-realistic comic colored background coloring.
I want to meet these people who say primer. I'll give them a
me too.
Give them a good thrashing, basically.
Yeah.
Or a thrishing, how I say it. But
people who say, I don't even data or data. I don't even know which one's proper now. Data or data?
Data.
Data is right. Okay.
I'm team data.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I am too. It used to be, I feel like I used to hear data a lot more. And probably the Star Trek character, I'm guessing was part of changing it. Saying data just sounds weird. But that assumes everyone on the planet is a Star Trek fan. So I don't know.
I think I used to...
remember...
Oh, God.
No, you don't.
I used to say data until I saw Star Trek Next Generation. And then it got confused in my head.
Yeah, same. I think I'm speaking for myself. Yeah. But I rarely hear data anymore.
I don't know. I remember there was this period where everyone who wanted to sound posh was trying to say data, and it was so annoying. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Back in the day, we were all saying data because we wanted... That was our thing.
Especially, it was guys. Especially, it was guys for some reason that wanted to sound very sophisticated when talking about science, and it was like the data shows that it's like, come on, stop it. Yeah. No,
Oh,
it's
dear.
data. I will die on the data hill.
Well, there you have it, people. Data instead of data.
Yes. And that's all the time we have. See you next time.
So yeah, how do you guys go about coloring a background, coloring a panel?
Well, I love hearing how you do it on the Patreon video and here. Very interesting because I've often wondered how both of you get the looks of your comic. And when I look at yours, Oz, I see like it gets kind of like a misty look to everything, like, but it's not like purposely foggy. But like I think of it as like, how does he get this like misty, somewhat foggy look to everything? And I guess it's the gradient
Oh,
and the I don't know, maybe like how unsaturated your colors are or something. I don't know exactly, but
I did forget a particular stage. Like I do like an overlayer stage that goes over the top of the outlines, like the line work. And that way I often add misty effects because it will there'll be like transparencies over the top, like that will fade out the outline in order to, like light effects. So there's a light here, and it like adds a bit of bloom around the outside of the light, and that looks more realistic if I fade out the line work that's near the
interesting.
line.
So is that overlay a specific color or depends?
We'll say in the top panel of that latest page, and then you've got all those lights. I just use white in order, because those light globes are white, and I just faded out using white. So yeah, in that particular one, it just depends. So if a scene is like say for the bottom layer, okay, in that one you've got a desk and you've got like documents and photos and like drawing tools and that kind of stuff. In that one, I've just done an overall gradient fade. So I've just used a white gradient that fades to transparency, like in a diagonal kind of way. That way it introduces a thing called atmospheric perspective. And atmospheric perspective means that the further something is away, the more blurry and indistinct it gets. Like the colors aren't as strong, so the colors kind of fade out and objects become less distinct. So that's atmospheric perspective. And that's a good little trick to use to add depth to an image.
It makes everything look more realistic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the trick behind the faded misty stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, go on with what you were saying before.
That was it. And like coloring the background first and establishing the environment, very interesting. If I'm drawing something, I generally, well, it depends because I've used 3D backgrounds, even in typical Strange for a long time until my computer crashed and I can't get that program anymore. But I had my video store set modeled in SketchUp, in Google SketchUp, and with a certain photographic effect, and I love the way it looks. And so then I would just have this background. I could jump in there and like flip it all. Like once my characters were done, I'd jump into my SketchUp model and just move the camera around and find the background angle I wanted. And oftentimes it didn't work because you'd have a character melting into the background. So like, then it was really like, okay, I got to be careful because my characters generally always wear the same clothes in that comic. It's like The Simpsons. Or some close variation of the same outfits. So it's always like you have to be careful what's going on in the background. So like you don't have black shirt or black hair with a black background, or a blue shirt against something blue, or like, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
And when I draw though, I usually do this, or have often almost always done the same. do the characters first, color them, and then I just paste them on a background. Like sort of do, and then you have a lot of text. Like say the comic Continuity Falls, I do on the Duck weekly. A lot of the space is taken up by characters. They generally wear the same things. I mean, somewhat. And then there's text. This comic, weirdly enough, tends to be very text heavy. So there's only a tiny bit of space in the end for backgrounds. So I reuse a lot of backgrounds and just sort of just a sense of place. Roughly, it's a forest background, or a dark, scary mountain region, forest region, or a little bit more green in my rural community. And then I do a white background, and then background image, I'll fade the opacity. It kind of came to that. It makes the characters stand out a little better.
Okay.
And so not everything is the same strength, which would just confuse the eye.
Yeah.
Then some shading. I got good feedback from you and other people about shading the middle of the character, sort of the dark middle, and the outer edge is brighter. So I do that sometimes.
Yeah, that really indicates a kind of like intensity and darkness to things.
Yeah, it gives a little more drama, and just mostly it's like what's a little more pleasing to the eye, and it's not so bright. It tends to be a little more pleasing to the eye.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we can't stress it enough. Like there's drawing an image to communicate certain things, but there's also making the image look good as well.
Yeah.
So there's two
like
things.
Super bright, crisp cartooning style can work, but it can also be, Calvin, well, it's usually black and white, but even like the color pages have that newspapery. The color is a little faded, I would say, and the lines are solid but kind of rough. Pretty rough, actually. Maybe I'm wrong about how I'm describing it, but it looks great. It always looks great. It's not too bright.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, I picked that as just a comic. It always looks great to me.
Shockingly good. Oh my god, that guy was just a beast.
Yeah,
Not human. He was too good. Because he could draw anything whenever he wanted.
yeah, and always fun. Like we talk about lines getting too crisp and losing the energy. Never an issue with that.
Never. It's just full
Everything's
of life.
always alive, funny. Just a simple, simplistic style. Like the looks on characters' faces. Calvin's face would always make me laugh.
Yeah. Whether it was a freaking dinosaur or...
Yeah, then you'd have these super detailed sequences. Like, oh my god. Amazing.
Yeah. He was incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one more thing about color is I noticed I favor blue and gray for my main characters, like a lot of the time. My main character in Typical Strange is Oscar. There was either gray pants and a blue shirt, or a gray shirt and blue pants. And I find I do that with main characters all the time. I settle on those colors. They're a little muted. Drunkduck had... How did he start? Did he have dark green pants in the beginning? I think so. Maybe they were gray. But he had sort of an off-white / light gray shirt. And then I think dark pants. Maybe they were dark green. But I realized this might have been something Tense was saying as we were all talking about it. He should have the color of a duck. So I wrote it into the story that his shirt became orange. I didn't like yellow. I played with a lot of test colors for him. I didn't like the look of yellow, so I went with orange shirt, dark green pants, and Clementine Quail had like yellow and brown, I think. But I didn't like the way it looked, so she went to a blue-gray. Not my heroic blue-gray color. So, yeah.
Yeah. Brown.
I love.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky.
She does look very cool. The blue with the blonde hair is amazing.
Yeah, that's a nice, very appealing.
Mm.
It'd be funny if you had. I was just thinking, like we had like a behind the scenes, and it was actually Oscar playing Drunkduck, and Harley playing Clementine.
Oh my god, I might have to do it. Oscar's physique does not fit Trunk's.
Yeah, he'd be pulled into like a corset or something. We have TK doing him up from Wade doing up from behind.
Yeah.
His stomach.
Oh yeah, Wade is like a big bully character. Penelope's a big brash character. I have a Veronica type character in Continuity Falls, Mavis Mallory, and they wear red. I put red on these bolder characters. I don't usually use it for like a central character. It stands out so much.
Oh my god! I never realized Continuity Falls is actually Archie.
A bit. Hopefully, it does more than that. Yeah. I mean, not more than that, but more than just the triangle. That's a whole other podcast.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Crazed hounds.
But yeah, like colors based on personality. I usually have a cast of characters, so like have some contrast between the characters.
Yeah,
it's a lot of like sketching them and just trying different colors on everybody to have them go together. Yeah,
and they work so freaking well. I especially love the scenes in the forest of in Continuity Falls. So they're deep in the forest talking to the scapegoat. The guy who's escaping being a scapegoat.
Yeah, he's trying to retire and get our main character to be his apprentice.
They're in the dark forest, right? And so you have a particular coloring style to show that. So even though these are, mainly flat shaded characters, you still change the colors in order to show that they're within that dark area. And it works so well, and it adds more drama and more intensity to the scene.
Yeah, and it could be tough to have it get muddy, so a lot of times I have to put a little white border around the character and blur it, give them a little white outline so they don't just melt into the background. Do a little white blob behind the character and then blur it.
Oh, okay.
It works really well. Like no character is too muddy or blending into the background or anything like that. Everything is very, very easy and discernible on the eye.
That's good. Yeah, I mean the white thing behind is used a lot when there's a black background, especially. Or you have black trees and whatever. Mm-hmm. Everything would disappear or it would just look weird unless you're in a specific nightmare kind of scenario. So yeah, a little glow around the characters. Not too much. The artist Walt Simonson would do a white white border around his characters a lot. I don't know if you guys read Thor or saw Walt Simonson's work, a Marvel artist, back in the day. Yeah, very interesting. Like a black line colored, and then a white border around characters. Very interesting. Back in the day, before you could easily blur a white line, maybe that's what he was shooting for.
But that would make them stand out really well. See, that's what I use when I do the covers for the Quackcast, and I have like lettering, and I use a white and a black outline around the letters, and it makes it stand out way more.
Yeah.
by doing that. And it's very simple to do, like especially in bloody Photoshop, because you just like set the stroke color to be a particular color, so it's very easy. Doesn't take any time at all. But yeah, drawing a character, there's a certain like work level in order to do that kind of thing. But oh my god, it just looks really good. So it's a good technique to use. So yeah, good little point, Baines.
Tenz's Verdant, which is your newest comic, always looks really full-bodied. There's so much to see. It all looks really three-dimensional because it's like super detailed, like a realistic comic book style, I would say, maybe.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel a lot better.
Oh, good. Good. No, it is. It looks great. And the colors are like insane. You have the colors of the backgrounds and the characters, but then the magical effects are full of color, like just a ton.
Yeah.
I know you can do a page in like an hour. I don't know how you do it, but it looks really good.
Oh my God. It's sometimes I feel like a page will never end. So
I'm kidding about the hour. Though obviously it takes a ton of work to get these things done.
Yeah. Well, there are two stages to coloring Verdant. There are the elements that are already made in line art, and then there is all the painting that has no line art, and I paint directly with color. Especially for this magic battle scene, all of the magic is something that I never sketch and ink. I never do that. I sketch and ink the forms, the figures, and then everything else, often including the trees or the water underneath, because it is a swamp forest, I paint directly. And the reason I do that is first because I want the line art to make the figure pop, hopefully, and also the surrounding environment, I want it to feel aggressively organic, if that is an expression. And like visceral and out of control at times, especially when it comes to magic. Magic is so hard to illustrate, so easy to describe in prose, so hard to illustrate. And well, so what I do is the exact opposite of Oz, in the sense that I first color the figures. Like everything I have inked, I color first, because that gives me like an anchor point for how I want the background to complement these figures. The figures have to be the main focus point at all times. So I want to set the values from the figures, if that makes sense. So once I have colored the figures, and when I say color, I mean the basic coloring and shading, but not the highlights or how the light is going to bounce off of them and stuff like that. That's just the basic stuff. Then I go to paint the background, and that's when I start to feel like the rowers on the Volga. Because there is nothing automated about it. Everything is hand colored and like hand painted. I don't have brushes that do this thing. I color everything with like a single brush because I am an amateur like that. So what happens is...
I thought you were going to say masochist.
What?
I thought you were going to say I'm a masochist.
Yeah. Yes, that too. Like I never said no.
A massive masochist.
Also, I don't like. I like. I also feel like it's very unified if I use the single like a single brush because that's the one I control well, and yeah, I'm going with that one brush that is my friend. Every other brush, I look at them from afar. So yeah. Anyway, um, and what I do then is that I set like not exactly a gradient like Oz does, but I mm, like do some main washes of color, in low opacity, so it's like watercolor washes, uh, layered one on top of the other, and that gives me a feel of the texture as well, especially when it comes to water or lava and stuff like that. So I already have like random little ridges and valleys and stuff that I then exploit to create my waves or the tentacles of the lava, and where it cracks and you see a bit of fire in it, and where it is like a lot darker, and that's how it takes shape. Um, and then comes the lighting, which is another beast, all of in itself, especially in this like huge magic battle. The light sources are the characters usually, or if not the characters, something that the characters are doing. So the light source is usually the magic or the magic person. And that means that I have no idea how to color that.
Yeah.
and and what I do is I treat them basically like little suns, and then I use them to color the background. That's why I color them first, if that makes sense. And and then I say, okay, this person is glowing. Where will the light reflect off of? And and then I start coloring with highlights from that person onto the lava or onto the water. Uh, and whoever controls the element reflects more on that element as opposed to the other person that is also a light source, but does not affect the magic as much because they are not in control of it. So whoever controls, for example, the water, will have more of their light reflecting onto the water and back at them. So that's why, uh, for example, when I draw the skeleton guy, the lava is under his control. So he is the one that glows a lot when he's around with the lava, and the lava is very red, this reddish, like fiery around him. So yeah, that's my little code for how to signal like who is controlling what. That probably only I understand. um, and yeah, so and I work and I build it up in washes. Like I go over the same part of the page several times, adding little by little extra color or extra hue or extra light. And when I'm satisfied with that, that's when I add my magic effects overall that are like more filter stuff that happens over it. Yeah, that's my process more or less.
Oh, interesting. So that's a very different way of working.
Yeah. Because nobody taught it to me. It's what I discovered works a little bit for me. So it's probably going around and around the same thing instead of straight at it. But at least it has it works for me, right? Like I understand the painting as it is being created a lot more. And I have it under my control as much as possible by just adding increments of color uh, with every layer that I add. So
Well, fair enough. I mean, like, I think most of us, we come across our colouring techniques over years of trial and error to what works for us and what our thing is. So we just come to different conclusions based on our, like, whatever thing happened to work for us at a time, and we end up doing it a particular way. So it's incredible. I think with as many comic artists out there, everybody will have different ways of doing their colouring.
Right.
All different techniques. It's just, one of those weird things. Because the result is what's important, not how you do it. So
Yeah, exactly.
however you get there, it really doesn't matter in the end. It just like lends people, okay, so maybe I could use that technique or that technique that you're using, and I could try it and it could work for me. But what's important is the finished result. Something you should always remember when doing artwork, unless you're some wanker that tries to pretend that the process is the important part. Whereas, it's not. Unless unless your whole point is to try and do performance art or revive some old style process, then it's important. But with comics, you're always trying to produce a finished image. You're not trying to produce a way of doing things, which is why we do digital art these days, and we don't run into issues because we're not going, oh yes, but why aren't we doing half tonings and using our special half toning and cutting it out and putting it on our page and doing our inking stage and having our pens so they're just right and not, dribbling black ink everywhere and all this. No, we use digital art and it still achieves the same effect in the end. A finished image, which is the important thing that we're going for. So, yeah. Always important to remember that. I was just thinking, so in my second latest page, I had a very different look. So, like my whole latest chapter of Pinky Deer, I started off in solid black and white. Like absolutely solid, no grey tones. I mean, there might be grey tones sneaking in, but it was mainly solid black and white was the main thing. So everything was influenced by my backgrounds, even in that stage when I'm doing it. Because the whole thing of, I was doing it in the start of Pinky Deer 9, I think it is. Yeah, there we are. I was starting off with this black and white stuff with this Pinky and this character Betty, so talking about what had happened in the past and how that's affecting the current future with a kind of very noir look. So everything was solid black and white. And what influenced me in those pages was this idea of Venetian blinds and how they can have like black and white lines from the lighting, like huge black and white lines, and that just lights the background. So that's why that effect was totally lighting the characters and lighting the whole scene, just black and white lines. That was really fun to do. But because we were coming out of that characters having a conference in that particular stage that was in the past, and we were coming more to the future, so we were coming out of like solid black and white to color in the future. So the colors were indicating what time period that things were happening in. So I was using that as my effect. So on the first couple of pages we have solid black and white. Then on when we do transition to the present, we have solid black and white color panels in the top of the page, and then we have colored sepia tone panels in the bottom of the page. So that's indicating that we're coming into a present. So we go from black and white to sepia. And it's like that previous black and white stuff is solid black and white, but the sepia is more painterly. So there's way more kind of tones and gradients and effects happening and lighting and just more traditional kind of coloring happening within that. It's just all in brown. That's the thing, which is what sepia means.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Oh, thank you.
Love it.
But yeah, that was just to indicate that passage of time and that transition from a passage, from the past to the present. So, yeah. And that was quite a lot of fun. So that's why I picked the brown, the orange and the brown and yellowy kind of tones, because it was fitting in with that time passage thing. So there's a lot of different reasons to pick colours, not always just because things should be coloured a particular way. But for the next page of Pinky TA, it's like a fake out. So it's like showing, oh my god, that's the original Pinky, all in her, traditional outfit with her, like grey trousers and her pink hair and everything like that. But of course, it's not the original Pinky. But the thing is, to try and capture that feeling of the original Pinky, we have to go full on traditional colouring, like characters in their full brightness, like fully lit from the front, in proper colours. So no clever shadowing or anything like that. So I've done that. And then in the bottom of the page, I've provided the reason that they are lit like that. It's because they've got lights aiming at them from these particular directions. So what that does is it sort of shows, that particular comic kind of image of, that I would have had in earlier pages of Pinky being all lit from all angles and in her outfit. And then it shows you how you could actually get that in reality with lighting sources, where these lights have to come from in order to get that kind of effect. So yeah, there's a bit of a slight bit of a fourth wall breaking in that kind of thing, but not really, because this is all like fictional kind of setting here with all those lights happening in a fictional photography set. But that's what you'd have to do. That's where those lights would have to come from in order to light those characters in that way, in that very artificial comic-y kind of way. So that was a kind of a bit of a wanky in joke by me.
That was great.
And I think I've sort of done that again in the bottom panel of the current page, PTA 9.6, showing these manuscripts. These things are drawn in a particular way. So we're taking it away from reality again and putting it, so this is an actual 2D image. So that whole big photography scene, the point of that was to create a 2D image, like a comic panel. And there you are, as the photos are like the 2D version of the previous page. And I very cleverly got that by copying and pasting that panel from the last page onto this one and reversing it.
Nice.
And then grayscaling it out. So yeah, I didn't have to draw that at all. I just copied and pasted and then resized it to fit in and add a bit of perspective to it. Yeah, lots of tricks you can do, which I love doing. So yes, it's all about the finished result, and we have different reasons for doing things in a particular way. We're not just colouring. We're colouring for a reason. So like in Tance Verdant, Tance is colouring things in a particular way because, there's magic and these characters are producing light and their light affects things in different ways. So it's quite complicated and mathematical in that kind of organising about why things are doing what. And with, Community Falls, you're lighting things in a particular way, not just because they're in the forest, but to show, this is like Drunkduck's being tricked here in this scene. This is like him being fooled and things are going wrong. So this is not his usual kind of world. And say Kaiju Valentine, you have a particular effect there. You have different colorings depending on what's happening. You have darker scenes and brighter scenes and stuff like that, don't you?
Yeah, and a lot of that is, again, being pleasing to the eye, not having characters disappear into the background.
Yes.
So I do usually render the characters, not always, but I'll put the whole scene together with background and characters, and then the lighting within the 3D program. And sometimes I'll render the whole thing, but it often works quicker, and then you have more, like, control after the fact if you render them separately and then stick them together, and you can, fade the background or darken it or blur it and do different things on the two layers and stuff. So I also had a great comment from Iron Scarf that he liked that the quote-unquote good guys, there's no real villains yet in Kaiju Valentine, really. I mean, not completely. But he's like the good guys, the main guys, are wearing darker colors, and the sort of more antagonistic are wearing lighter colors. So he liked that, which I didn't even realize I was doing. So I was like, I like that too.
Elena is the exception because she's the best character out of all of them.
Well, being the best character doesn't mean she's the nice, the nice one. But yeah, Elena is sort of that girl.
She's definitely not nice. So.
No, but I put her. She's blonde and white, and me and Max wearing darker colors. So that's pretty fun. I like that.
I'm drawn to evil characters, I think.
Well, yeah, me too. I like her. I love her. Yeah.
It's like my favorite character in Seinfeld. Two favorite characters were George and Newman.
Yeah. Oh man.
The most evil characters. Alina is nothing like either George or Newman.
No. I don't think so.
In any way. No, she's far better.
Very well.
That's a very good Newman.
Thank you.
Oh dear. Newman. Dear. Yeah, it's coloring is like, I will stick by my thing though, like my background colors influencing for characters and foreground scenes. Because in say Pinky versus Verdant, there's no magic in that world, so everything is pretty much as it would be lit in real life. So I've just got to think about how that kind of stuff works. If I was doing a more Verdant kind of thing, I think I would follow Townsend's approach.
Right.
That's
that's a huge compliment. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you compare the way I colored Without Moonlight versus Verdant, it's a completely different approach. I almost never painted stuff painted without having line art in Without Moonlight. Everything was very realistic in terms of lighting. Even the dramatic scenes were realistically lit. Like even the final fight, the final battle that there is in Without Moonlight is very strictly realistically lit. For what I mean, according to historical accounts, I had to go and find like exactly how the weather was, exactly how much light there was. None, by the way, and all of that.
It was Without Moonlight. So.
Yeah, exactly. It literally was, which I will pretend I made the title exactly having this final scene in mind, which I didn't. But that's what I'm gonna say in all my official interviews. um, yeah. Whereas Verdant is first of all a lot more colorful as a world. Um, Color has a lot of significance in Verdant, and I mean you have a lot of clashes between um, like for example, I guess this is more or less already clear that the good guys are green or greenish or naturally colored a lot, whereas the bad guys are fire, red, like very like scalding, destructive. So you have oranges and yellows and reds and blacks, and that's how the bad guys roll. um, and there's also like the less coloring there is, the more removed the place, the setting, or the individuals, the characters are from being connected to the to nature or the world or the magic or what have you. So there's that, and I'm hoping this will be a lot more evident in chapter 2 when we compare the forest and the swamp forest and the witches to the despotate and the castle and the stuff that is going to be happening there, because now we know the witch world a little better than we do the despotate world, and I'm gonna remedy that in chapter 2 necessarily. um, because uh, I don't know, nobody's probably paying attention to that, but uh, Ethan's uniform and everything has been completely shredded, destroyed from the magic of the skeleton guy. So he clearly is not wearing the stuff that he was wearing in the battle now that he's narrating and, talking to the other witches that he's telling all these things to. So clearly he went and changed. um, so we're gonna see how that went for him now when he returns to his castle and his people. So yeah,
Nice.
and the color I'm hoping is going to reflect that and how everything is lit and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll be we'll wait and see how that is. I was just going to say a let on a bit of a thing in Bottomless Waitress, in that even though the characters' colours are not influenced by the background in there, the lighting is. So, depending on how the lighting is, like each character mainly has two colours for various parts of themselves. So the skin colour has two colours, the clothes colours have two colours. So I'll put the highlight colour, I'll make it really big if they're being lit strongly, or if they're being lit directionally, I'll put the highlight colour on just that area where the light is coming from. So yeah, that really helps. But the backgrounds are just weird and cartoony in Bottomless Waitress. They have their own, like sometimes I do them realistic, but even when they're realistic, they're more cartoony. So it has its own kind of logic. Okay, we should wrap up.
I'm sorry. Do you put a haze over Bottomless Waitress in the same way or a more subtle way?
I have in some panels though. It's not a general thing. I only do it for some special panels.
Okay, yeah, I've noticed it sometimes.
Yeah, I do definitely. I just do the same thing. I do like maybe a white with it's white on part of the gradient and it's transparent on the other part of the gradient. So it goes from like a white at a very low opacity, and then the opacity just completely goes to zero. So you get that kind of a atmospheric perspective. And it's just a very easy way of indicating a three-dimensional space. so simple. And it's it's something I learned about back in when I was doing art in my tertiary studies, but I never really used it because we weren't taught in a very technical way. We weren't taught that way at all. We were just taught in a historical way by looking at what artists had done and learning to understand that. But we weren't taught those effects, but I had it in my brain and I've decided to use it now. So there we go.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we should wrap up. All right. Thank you for listening to Quackcast number 780. Been Ocean, and you've been Baines and Tom. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The colored rainbow.